Hope you guys had a good week. Coming at you today with a story time video. My worst date ever. Let's start from the beginning. So I met this guy. We had friends in common, right? We started talking on Facebook, on and off, whatnot. And so he asked me out to lunch. I eventually accepted. And so we set the date. So the day of the date, he texted me early in the morning. He was like, Nema, I really want to come and pick you up, this and that, la la la. And I mean, you ain't got to tell me 15,000 times. I was like, okay, sure, come pick me up. We had convened earlier that the day before that we would all meet like at the place. So then he told me like, I'm going to come pick you up, this and that. I sent him my address. To this point, everything is still Gucci. He gets to my place. I go downstairs. First thing I notice, he had a really nice car. I mean, Audi A4 or Audi A4. I'm not even sure how to say it, but y'all know, black on black Audi. He had a nice car. Now, side note, I'm not really impressed with material things, but I do notice them, right? So I get into the car. I sit down. First thing he tells me after saying hello is, oh, you live so far. And so I'm looking at him like, okay. And he's like, I hope you got money for the gas. Wait, what? What I'm thinking in my head at that moment is, you insisted to come pick me up. I ain't got no money for no gas, no time today. But what I said instead was, hoping he would start laughing too, because, you know, I'm a joker at heart, so I could take a joke. But the dude didn't start joking. He didn't start laughing at any moment in the conversation. So I was just like, well, okay then. Anyways, so then we start talking about where we're going to eat. He asked me, where do you want to go? So I was like, oh, Centropolis. Centropolis is like this place where there's a bunch of restaurants of different price range. So I'm like, let's go there and then we can pick once we're there. And then he looks at me and he's like, oh, but I thought we would go to Tim Hortons. And I'm looking at him like, still being nice. People have brunch at Tim Hortons? Yeah, all the time. So I'm like, okay, let's go. Now, for those of you who don't know what Tim Hortons is, it's like the McDonald's for donuts. So I'm like, okay, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm going to get a bagel. I was going to say burger. Bagel with butter and some chocolate milk, you know? Call it a day. It's not that biggie. So I'm like, sure, let's go. No problem. Still being nice. So as we're driving there, he's like, you know what? It's the first time we meet, so let's go to Centropolis. I'm like, sure, no problem. Everything's cool. So we drive there. We get to the restaurant. I pick La Belle et le Bœuf, which is like $15 a plate for the food, right? I really don't think that's very expensive, but that's me. So we get to the restaurant, start looking at the menu. I'm looking at what I want, this and that. And then he tells me, he's like, so what if I get just a fry? Do you think that's going to be cheaper? And then what I really wanted to answer him was like, obviously it's going to be cheaper. Fry is $5. So yes, the bill would be a lot cheaper. But instead I was like, well, it depends on if you're hungry or not and what you want to eat. But let's call him Trey. So I'm like, but Trey, don't worry about me. I'm going to take care of my bill. You go ahead and splurge on whatever you want on the menu. And I'm thinking he's about to be like, no, Nema, I'm the one who invited you. You know, don't worry about it. No, the dude almost high-fives me. He's like, yes, really? You're paying for your bill? Now, don't get me wrong. I have no problem paying for my bill. But I was just so surprised at the excitement in his voice of me paying for my own bill. I was like, okay, all right, still being nice and polite. Moving on. So I end up ordering my meal. He orders a meal too. He gets a meal now knowing that I'm paying for my bill. And so the waiter comes, right? And then he asks us, do you guys want spicy mayo with your meal? Me being the sauce girl that I am, those who really know me, sauce on everything. I'm like, of course, yeah.
You know I got the sauce. You know I'm saucy.
And so he says yes too. And as the waiter's walking away, he comes back and he's like, oh, guys, sorry. I forgot to tell you there's a surcharge of $1.50 for the spicy mayo. And I'm like, no problem. And my friend, date, guy, Trey, jumps out of his seat to the guy's face. He's like, no. Cancel. I don't want the spicy mayo. I don't want the spicy mayo. But really loud. So I'm just here like, the waiter is like, and Trey is like, no spicy mayo, no spicy mayo, no spicy mayo. So So the waiter ends up by telling Trey, like, no worries, it wasn't ordered yet. It won't be on your bill, blah, blah, blah. And so as he's walking away, Trey calls him back. Trey's like, excuse me, do you have normal mayo? The waiter, again, looks at me like, and I'm just like, and the guy answers. He's like, yes, we have normal mayo. And then Trey asks him, is it free? The waiter almost chuckles, and he's like, yes, it's free. And then he's like, I'm going to take that. So I'm just like, whew, I'm going to need a drink to get through this. And so whatever, the waiter goes back with our orders. And so I look at the drink menu. I order a nice little drink. And the food arrives. And then my drink arrives like 5 minutes later. So as I'm eating, I taste my drink. It's really nice. Who do I see take out the straw out of his water to put it in my cup? Trey himself. Naima, can I try your drink? I was like, my friend, no, you cannot. But here's the drink menu. Feel free to order yourself one. Still being nice, right? That was nice and polite. So Trey takes the menu, starts looking through it, puts it down, looks at me, and he's like, no, the drinks are too expensive. Mind you, the drinks were like $8. So I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I mean, stick to your water. We good. I have my drink. Don't worry about it. And like, everything is Gucci. And then he proceeds to look at me in the eye and ask me, can you buy me a drink? Can you buy me a drink? He says it twice. Because the first time I didn't hear him. I just kept staring. But I did hear him. I was just in awe. So he asks it again. And I'm just looking at this dude like, are you for real? Put down my drink. I'm like, no, Trey. I will not buy you a drink today. Sorry. Finish eating my food. Finish my drink. I'm like, yes, I'm going back home. This day is over. But it wasn't. As we're walking outside, there's like this water sculpture at like Centropolis. So he's like, oh, Naima, come. Let's go take pictures. And as I'm ready to tell him, nah, we ain't taking pictures together, he hands me my phone and he goes to pose in front of the statues. Like, he wasn't even talking about pictures together. He was talking about him posing for pictures. So I'm just there with his smartphone, and I'm clicking. Literally, after 30, he comes back. He's like, oh, wow, they're really nice. Thank you. And I'm like, no problem. No problem, dude. And then he asks me, he's like, oh, let's take a selfie together. That was literally my face, and then I'm like, I'm sorry, no. I don't like my picture being in people's phones, which is true. I don't like really taking pictures with other people's phones, but... So I'm like, no, thank you. Keeps insisting. I'm like, no, thank you. Oh, it's getting late. I need to go home. Mind you, it's like 3 p.m. in the evening. Not even, probably 2. So he ends up dropping me home. And as we're driving in the streets of Montreal, well, in the streets of Laval, technically, as we're driving, you know, there's like bumps and whatever because the streets in Quebec aren't that great. And every time we like hit a bump, he would be like checking the car, which led me to think that maybe it wasn't his car. But anyways, so then I get home, and as I'm getting off of the car, he's like, oh, Naima, I had a great time, this and that. And I'm like, okay. And then he asked me off of the bat just like that, oh, what are you doing for the rest of the day? So me not thinking, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to go like watch a show, get some work done. Not a lot. I wasn't thinking because I was so excited to be home for this to be over. And he's like, really? So let's spend the day together. I almost had a heart attack in front of my house. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, let's go spend the day together in Westmount. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I have to go help my mom with something. But yeah, you'll have a nice day, right? I go upstairs, tell the story to the people that were at home. They all laughed. Put it on Snapchat too, they laughed. Didn't say the name of the person, won't say the name of the person. So yeah, it ended up being like a really just funny story. But while it was happening, it was so weird and awkward because the whole time I'm waiting for him to be like, you know, no instance, no moment where anything weird would happen would he even laugh. So I was just like, where do you come from? Anyways, so that was my story time. My worst date ever. I think it's not that bad compared to maybe some of you guys' story. But if you do have some interesting ones, comment below. Share, like, repost, whatever you call it. Check out my Instagram. See you guys on the flip side.